almost ready for ILoveCinema on Twitch this time, so I'm just going to be checking sounds and stuff, so bear with me. We're not properly going for it. Oh, advertisement. That's the lovely thing about Twitch, all the cool game advertisements. I hope you've all been watching E3. I hope you loved a lot of the stuff that you've seen at E3. I certainly did. But this is not a gaming talk show, or a talk show about games or video games, even though I like video games, but this is more about the movies. So let's have a look. So I need to factor in a 30-second commercial. Are we live or are we not? I seem to be frozen. That's, oh great, and now it's 8 and I'm not entirely sure whether I'm actually live. I do hope it's working for you guys. Hi, I'm Mel. This is ILoveCinema, which kind of like explains exactly what this show is about. I love cinema, I love movies, and that's kind of the reason why I became an actor. And I love talking about movies. You can hardly ever shut me up about movies, which is why I wanted to make a show of me talking about movies. And I also kind of like presenting and hosting and all of that stuff. So I was like, what better way than just to have my own show? So you might have seen previous episodes. Oh, okay, and here we are actually live. Perfect, this is actually working. Mwah! Thank you, Twitch. Hi, Twitch. I love Twitch, not just because I'm a gamer as well, but because I've been running into problems with YouTube. If you've watched any of my previous live streams that have been on YouTube, you might be following me on Twitter at ILoveCinema vlog, or me directly, Melanie_Radloff. You can find me on Twitter. I basically live on Twitter. But yeah, I've been running into problems with YouTube. One of their weird algorithms basically deleted my account, got rid of all my material. So I've been looking for a new home, and it looks like Twitch is it. So cheers to that, and thank you very much for hosting me. So this is already episode 12, as you can see. It feels a bit weird that I can see the stream chat in there. Not sure, can I potentially have that go away? I'm still kind of... Oh yeah, you can just like get it in and out. Lovely, awesome. My god, this app is amazing. So yeah, welcome to the episode 12 of ILoveCinema. This week I'm going to be talking all things Hereditary. If you don't know what that is, this is one of the posters for the movie. Oh, you can see the reflection of my laptop. Never mind my laptop. Yeah, I have no... Like, my production value is like this. You know, I have no money, there's no budget. I'm literally doing this out of my bedroom, somewhere in London. So there you go. You just have to forgive that. And I'm still kind of like trying to sort all my shit out a bit. Let's see. This is not supposed to be here. I glue with chewing gum. That's kind of the budget I have, okay? So bear with. But yeah, let's have a look at, we're going to have a look at Hereditary. It's a new film with Toni Collette. Looks really, really good, even though I'm not really much of a horror movie fan. But before we get to that, I want to quickly delve into news and trailers, which is what I usually do before I start talking about the actual films. So in news and trailers, Wonder Woman. I mean, who doesn't like Wonder Woman, right? I love Wonder Woman. When the film came out last year, I think I went to see it 3 times in cinemas. I really loved it, even though of course it has its, you know, it has its issues and stuff, but overall really loved it. I love Gal Gadot, and yeah, it was a really great film. Now we all know that because it was, I'm not sure, is it like the most successful DCEU film ever? It's the most revered one, I guess. Because the DCEU films in recent years have not been very good. I can't remember a DCEU film that I really enjoyed watching. I remember when Batman vs Superman came out, I was not really into it, and then Wonder Woman showed up and I was like, okay, the movie just got good, and then unfortunately it deteriorated again, so there we go. But Wonder Woman last year, so successful. Patty Jenkins, the director, was fantastic. Gal Gadot was fantastic. Just the entire thing was absolutely awesome. Oh, speaking of Wonder Woman. Yeah! Who doesn't like Antiope? She was the coolest. And obviously, I mean, Wonder Woman, you have to have Wonder Woman herself. Yeah, I'm a bit of a geek, aren't I? So I have Antiope and Wonder Woman Diana in there. And I'm totally blocking them now. Sorry about that, ladies. There you go. Wonder Woman sequel obviously was in the works because the first one was so successful. We finally have the official title has been revealed. So it's entitled Wonder Woman 1984. And that immediately had me go like, 1984. It's one of my favorite books. It's got nothing to do with Wonder Woman. It's a book by George Orwell. If you do know who George Orwell is, or you do know what 1984 by George Orwell is, pause this right now. Download it somewhere. Go to something called a library, if you know what that is, and get it somewhere. It's one of the best books I've ever read. And it is by far the most amazing book I ever got to read in high school. It is so fucking fantastic. And I think it's really poignant nowadays, you know, with our Big Brother society and shit like that. But I'm pretty sure that Wonder Woman 1984 not necessarily will be influenced by George Orwell's 1984. It's quite a dystopian book. I'm just going to tell you that. But the title had me immediately think of George Orwell because, like I said, one of my favorite books of all time. And of all the years, like it's been rumored for a while that Wonder Woman, the sequel, was going to be placed in the 80s somewhere. Even though the original was, when was that? It was World War One, so it must have been like what do you say? The 10s? The 1910s? I have no idea what you call that. Not the 20s, but the teenage years, so to speak. But yeah, so this is quite like 70 years later almost. And it's interesting that they could have called it 81, they could have called it 80, 81, 82, so forth, all the way up to 89. They did call it 1984, and I think that will probably have a very good reason. So I can't wait to find out what that is. I mean, I was going to go and watch it anyway, but that title now definitely has me intrigued, and I'm not someone for, you know, even numbers. I have a bit of an OCD now when it comes to that. But more importantly than the title, which I've been going on for a while, Steve Trevor is back. Now, if you don't know who Steve Trevor is, if you've never watched Wonder Woman, or if you don't really remember much about it, Steve Trevor was basically the love interest. He was played by Chris Pine, and he, spoiler alert, if you've never seen the Wonder Woman movie, he famously died at the very end of Wonder Woman because the plane he was in exploded, right? We all thought there was no way that he could come back. He couldn't just do like Captain America, being down in the sea, in the ice, and all of that stuff. Now, it turns out he's going to be back. And one of the things is like, okay, he's going to be back. There's going to be a flashback or something like that. There's going to be like so many things that you can make up why you would bring Chris Pine back, right? But some images have surfaced, which is why this entire news has come out. And Steve Trevor was actually spotted wearing 80s regalia, 80s clothing. Now, therefore, it can't be a flashback. So he actually is in the 80s. So has he been transported there from the 1910s or the teenage years of the 20th century, whatever we want to call it? Is Diana on drugs? Is she hallucinating? Has someone cloned him from like a tiny little cell somewhere? Is Deadpool showing up with his time-traveling device? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you clearly haven't been sitting your ass down after the credits. I don't know. Steve Trevor, I liked him in the first Wonder Woman. I mean, I like Chris Pine. He's a very charismatic actor. He's one of the famous Chris's that are taking over Hollywood. But overall, I feel a bit cheated because he had a great send-off at the end of Wonder Woman. And now bringing him back, I'm like, why would you do that? So there better be a really good explanation to that in the script somewhere, because otherwise I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But I trust Patty Jenkins because I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. I also liked her previous film, Monster. So I do have very, very high hopes for this movie. So ideally, I hope it's more than just we have to give her her love interest or something. I hope it's just that she needs some kind of like cathartic closure that she didn't get to have with him, or I have no idea what the hell's going on. But Wonder Woman 1984 is set to open in theaters in November next year, 2019. So I am so excited for that. And speaking of Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, obviously famously playing Wonder Woman, is now teaming up with The Rock Dwayne Johnson for an action comedy called Red Notice. Now, I don't know what Red Notice is about, nor do I care. The Rock's in it, so I'm gonna watch it. Now they've added Gal Gadot to it. I'm gonna watch it twice at least. You know, it's absolutely great. Just hearing those two smashing it up together, awesome. We don't know much about Red Notice. The only thing people seem to know about the project is it's described as a globe-trotting action comedy heist thriller. Sounds good. Apparently it's a three-hander, so now we have Dwayne Johnson and Gal Gadot. Apparently another male co-star is going to be added to this three-hander. Surprise, surprise, you know, it's got one guy already attached to it. It's got a woman attached to it. It's a three-hander. Who was going to think it's going to be another woman? No one on this planet, right? Surprise, surprise, of course. Roll eye emoticon, whatever. But I love The Rock. And I love his films usually, even if they're stupid. And actually, speaking of stupid, Rawson Marshall Thurber is going to be directing. What was it called? Red something. Red Notice. Notice the red notice. So Rawson Marshall Thurber is going to be directing that, and I didn't really know who he was. Apparently, this is going to be his third film with The Rock. Should I call him The Rock or Dwayne Johnson? I mean, he's The Rock. We all know he's called Dwayne Johnson, but everyone says The Rock because he rocks. He's awesome. So Thurber and Johnson have done Central Intelligence and Skyscraper together. Skyscraper obviously is Johnson's latest film. It's not out yet here in the UK. It comes out soon. I can't wait to see it because every time I see their trailer, I'm like, this is just such a Dwayne Johnson movie. It's just such a rock movie. It's full of stupid, over-the-top action, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And just like with, if you've seen any of my previous vlogs, I was talking about a film that, actually Johnson just had a film out a few months ago called Rampage. And he had this whole shtick about how he got them to change the ending of the film because he was like, this ending is not going to gel well with my audience because I have fans who are expecting certain things from my movies. And rightly so, they're expecting it. It's family entertainment, it's happy, and, you know, I don't deal with, like, sad and tragic shit. That's just not me. Not that he said the S word because he just doesn't swear, does he? Or at least I don't think he swears. He's just, like, such a... It sounds weird, but he's, like, such a goody-goody two-shoes. He's just, like, so positive and just awesome. I love it. So he's kind of, like, standing for easy entertainment, for happy endings and all of that stuff. Which is kind of why I like his movies, you know. So I can't wait to see Skyscraper, even though it looks very like... It took stuff from San Andreas and smashed in a bit of Die Hard, and then on top of all is the cherry that is The Rock. It's going to be awesome, I think. But he, like I was saying, Rawson Marshall Thurber, the director, he did Central Intelligence, which in my opinion is one of the lesser entertaining rock movies. Like, it's fine, you can easily watch it, but overall I didn't go, wow, that was awesome. No. It was nice, but that was about it. So it remains to be seen. Like I said, I haven't seen Skyscraper yet. That could potentially really make me go, wow, this guy's awesome. I can't wait to see his movies. At the moment, don't really give much of a shit about the director. I love The Rock. I watch pretty much, I think, everything that he's in. If he stars in a film, I'll go and see it. You attach Wonder Woman Gal Gadot to that, in addition to The Rock, how could I not go and see it? It's going to be amazingly epic. They are both really actiony and positive, so I really can't wait. I can't wait to see that. So that's going to be called Red Notice. And it's going to be an action comedy. I mean, hello? Of course I'm going to go watch this. Now, in other news, sort of old news and yet updated news. I don't really know what else I want to call it. I've been talking a lot in the past few weeks about Amazon's new Lord of the Rings series, right? One of the most expensive, if not the most expensive TV series of all times. Amazon put billions of dollars into this. or over 8 billion, something like that. But it's in the billions. It's so much money. I can't even bloody comprehend how much money that is. That's how much money it is. And we had it in the news recently that maybe Peter Jackson is involved in it. And then a week later, it was like, Peter Jackson most definitely is not involved in that. And then potentially it's like, wait a minute, maybe he is after all. So it's like, what the hell is going on? No one really knows. Now, is he or isn't he, Peter Jackson, involved in the Amazon Lord of the Rings series? Now, in order to kind of like put rumors to rest, even though I think she kind of didn't, there was an interview that Deadline did with Jennifer Salke. She's the head of Amazon Studios. And she basically mentioned that this deal is so fresh, which is probably why there were contradictory rumors running around. And she told them, despite all the noise around Lord of the Rings, the deal only closed like a month ago. But in the meantime, I've sat with Simon Tolkien for a couple of hours, and Amazon TV executive Sharon Teljagudo, sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name, had spent tons of time with them. She had spent the last couple of months meeting anyone who had said, I'm really passionate about it and I want to get in and talk about the show and what's possible. I think you'll see us honing in on the strategy in the next month, which might involve a group of writers. So really early stages, right? They haven't even lined up writers yet. On Peter Jackson's involvement, she mentioned the Peter Jackson conversations. Right now, we're right in the middle of them. It's like, how much do you want to be involved? How little? I know there's been some discussion and he's even said some things, but as far as I'm aware, the latest is that we're just in a conversation with him about how much or how little he would like to be involved. So it sounds like Amazon will also follow Peter Jackson's footsteps and potentially, most likely, use New Zealand as the filming location for the series. I mean, that makes perfect sense because Peter Jackson has kind of established that New Zealand looks like Middle-earth, because in his trilogy, that's what's been used. In the Hobbit trilogy, that's what's been used. It kind of makes sense to move the entire production over there. So Jennifer said, I think we might be in New Zealand. I don't know, but we're going to have to go somewhere interesting that could provide those locations in a really authentic way, because we want it to look incredible. There's no shortage of ambition for the project. We'll go where we need to go to make it happen. And given how much money they forked out for it, I'm pretty sure they can go wherever the hell they want to go for this. Also, I'm available. Call me. I'd be awesome as an elf, as a ranger, even some kind of a bad guy. I usually play bad guys, so Jennifer, call me. And we're staying on the TV and fantasy land. We're going to talk about some Game of Thrones stuff. Obviously, HBO, famous for pulling out Game of Thrones, George R. R. Martin, J.R.R. Tolkien, George R. R. Martin, George R. R. Martin's fantasy epos, epic. It's just great. I love the show, even though it deteriorates here and there. But overall, I really do like the show. Famously, one season is left, which I think will air sometime next year, if I remember this correctly. Now HBO obviously knows that the series is coming to an end. They put shitloads of money into this. It's won like Globes and Emmys and hell knows, like all kinds of stuff. It's until Lord of the Rings, the Amazon series came around, it was the most expensive fantasy series I think ever. And of course HBO is not done. They want more. Just like any good drug dealer, right? Here's your first one and now I'm upping the price. So Game of Thrones, there will be a prequel series that has just been ordered by HBO, and apparently it will be set thousands of years earlier than the current series. So it's at the moment untitled, was co-created by creator George R. R. Martin, who also wrote all the books for Game of Thrones, and screenwriter Jane Goldman, who will also serve as the showrunner for the new series. And there was a logline that the network HBO teased the plot with, without basically telling us anything. But they said, only one thing is for sure. From the horrifying secrets of Westeros' history to the true origin of the White Walkers. Oh yeah, I'm hooked already. The mysteries of the East to the Starks of legend. It's not the story we think we know. So they're gonna like fill in the backstory to a lot of stuff that's been alluded to. Like people are talking about histories from like months and months, from like centuries and centuries ago, or thousands and thousands of years ago. Which especially, I mean, I'm definitely interested in this whole White Walker business, because they are kind of like the big bad that we're dealing with, and that's been looming in the background the entire time. And I'm just like, I need to know more, man. What's going on? And apparently, they're gonna fill in the blanks. Or, oh, hey, Mooks. Sorry, I've just seen that. I swiped the chat away, didn't I? Hi. Mooks is brilliant. Let me just quickly sidetrack. Mooks is this brilliant person who did my graphics for me, and who's still doing my graphics for me, and she's fucking awesome. One of the best friends you can ask for. So there you go. But yeah, when it comes to Game of Thrones, I'm totally hooked. Like I love fantasy stuff anyway. I love sci-fi and fantasy is kind of like my two favorite genres, right? So if you same with Amazon, I don't really care what they're gonna put into their Lord of the Rings series. It's Lord of the Rings, it's fantasy. I'm gonna go and watch it, especially with a budget, as it's been reported what the budget is, and I'm like, flipping heck, how could I not watch that? So that's gonna be fantastic. And I always love it when there is a project that I like or that I even love, and then someone decides to fill in blanks, like for backstory for characters or backstory for certain settings. Just like when it comes to Game of Thrones, like going back centuries upon centuries, and then even going back thousands and thousands of years, I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. And you can count me in, HBO. I'm going to be watching that. And a tiny bit more about TV news. I know this is ILoveCinema, but because it's all kind of connected and linked to movies, I am including it here. MTV is rebooting Ian Flux as a live-action TV series. Now, if you don't know what Ian Flux is, or even how to pronounce it, I might be pronouncing it wrong. It's like, it's so weirdly written. But it used to be an anime in the 90s, I think, that MTV was airing, and it was quite, people loved it. It was quite popular, so they asked for more episodes. And then, long story short, of course, they made a real-life action film out of it in 2005, and it starred Charlize Theron. And, if anyone's ever listened to anything I say on Twitter, or if you've listened to any of my previous podcasts or vlogs, you know that Charlize Theron is one of the people that if she's attached to a project, I will just go and see it. I don't need to know anything else other than the title and that she's in it, and my bum will be in the seat, okay? Unfortunately, the Ian Flux movie was not very good, which was very disappointing because it could have been so awesome. Like, the source material is wicked, okay? So Ian Flux is returning to TV as the live action show, and apparently the Teen Wolf showrunner called Jeff Davis, he's currently tasked with writing a script. He will also executive produce. And here, this is where my eyes went. He will executive produce together with Gail Ann Hurd. And if you don't know who Gail Ann Hurd is, she was producing the original Ian Flux movie. Not that that means I would hold her in high esteem, because the movie wasn't very good. However, she is currently the executive producer on The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. And I love these shows because I love post-apocalyptic shit. Gail, find me, call me, hook me up. Seriously, just one line somewhere and I will love you forever, okay? Just get me on there. Gail Ann Hurd is awesome. Stuff that she usually produces, executive produces, is stuff that I like. It's like right my genre. Like Ian Flux, even though the movie was not very good, even though it starred Charlize Theron and it's post-apocalyptic, but it's just the setting of it. Sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, count me in, I'm gonna watch it, even though it's shit. And to be fair, it's not fully shit, even though I think it has like 9 or 10% on Rotten Tomatoes or something. Not that I really give a shit about aggregators, but I don't know. That movie could have been great, and unfortunately it wasn't. Shame. Sometimes I think if they'd made it in 2010, 2015, it would have probably found a better audience, but you never know. And it also starred Frances McDormand, who just won an Oscar. So, there you go. And the premise of the new show, the live action show for Ian Flux, according to the Hollywood Reporter, the live action series is set in a future dystopian state. and revolves around a young assassin who teams with a group of biohacking rebels to save humanity as she becomes the hero known as Ian Flux. So it's kind of like, sounds like an origin story. And Ian Flux, she's like, if you've never seen it, get the Charlize Theron film. If you can't find the anime series, hopefully you will be able to find the anime series, because it has a really weird like graphics look, animation look is what I was trying to say. And it's really out there, and like about like, I'm not sure if it's like cyberpunky, but everything like with the technology and stuff that they're using in there, it's really groundbreaking and very, very out there. It's almost a bit like too much out there. When I was watching that in the 90s, that was a bit too freaky for me. Now I think it's absolutely fucking amazing because it's bonkers. So yeah, I really like the idea that they're rebooting it, especially as a TV series. We get a lot of really good stuff on TV at the moment. Like it's almost like the provocative and innovative stuff is on TV at the moment, whereas the safe bets are kind of in cinemas right now. It's a bit weird. But I really I like both mediums. I love audiovisual storytelling, which is why I like cinema. But because TV has kind of like ramped up in the last 15 years, 15, 20 years, it's really coming to its own. It's really, really good. And the stories that they tell are fantastic and look cinematic, and just like they're getting, I remember back in the day when it was like, oh, you're a TV actor, you're not as good as us big screen actors. Now this entire thing has come together, and performances are fantastic, and it's awesome. I love film, I love TV, just as long as it's like good storytelling, good performances. That's the kind of stuff that I'm really, really interested in. So let me have a look. Oh, it's interesting that the graphics look blue on the screen instead of gray. Huh. Okay, I'll have to look into that. So, before I get into Hereditary, I just quickly want to plug a show by one of my mates. If you've seen any of my previous shows, and trust me, hi there Twitch, I know that everything is new, because I've lost all my stuff, but thank God, because I'm so paranoid, I had downloaded all my previous episodes, so why is that flickering so weird? Is that flickering on there as well? Yeah, it is. Why are you flickering? I don't know. Oh, there's also quite a delay here. This is the first time I'm streaming. I'm streaming from my phone. That seems to be like a 10-second delay at least. Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm just ironing out kinks. But I'm uploading all my previous vlogs, and as you can see, as you can see, I'm on episode 12. So I'm going to be uploading the previous 11 episodes in the next few days. So just check back on Twitch over the next couple of days, and next few days, sorry, couple always means two. I just can't wrap my head around that. But yeah, let me just quickly plug Nurses Therapy. One of my mates, Sean Francis. Yeah, why is it flickering so weird? I have to do something about that. That annoys me. She created this web series called A Nurses Therapy because she herself is actually a nurse, a real life nurse. And she just added some, additional drama to it. And she puts out 2 episodes a week, one on Monday, one on Thursday. So a new one went up about an hour ago. So check it out. It's at tinyurl.com. A Nurses Therapy, all one word. And that will get you to the YouTube channel. And I think there's about almost 30 episodes on there now. But don't worry, all these episodes are like a minute or two long. They're really, really short. A minute or two short, I should probably say. And they're kind of like little diary entries, like little voicemail, video mail messages that people leave for each other that are telling a story. So it's all about her, how she goes about her job, how she goes about her private life. She's married to a guy who is potentially not the nicest, and how she deals with that. And it's really interesting, and they're really amping up the storyline. And it deals with like negligence and domestic abuse, and how people just deal with all kinds of shit that's coming at them. And obviously everyone can kind of relate to that, because in our daily lives we have to deal with all kind of crap that to us always seems insurmountable, and yet you will always be able to somehow deal with it. It's just really interesting, and I can't wait to see where it actually goes. I have to be totally honest. I'm plugging it, but I have to admit, a little disclaimer, I'm also part of the series, which is not the only reason why I am plugging it. I play a really small part as Ellen's best friend. Ellen is the lead role, played by my mate Sean. So yeah, just have a look at it. Like I said, tinyurl.com, A Nurses Therapy, all one word. Check out the YouTube channel. You can easily catch up in about, it won't even take you an hour to watch all of the episodes. So check it out. It's definitely worth it. And stay tuned. Every Monday and Thursday is a new short episode for you to check out. And without further ado, let's talk about Hereditary. Again, disclaimer, I'm not going to be spoiling this. Like, if I ever go into, sorry ladies, if I ever go into spoiler territory, I will be holding up this bit, so you know that I'm going to be spoiling something, okay? I don't plan on spoiling anything, because I hate it when people spoil stuff. To be fair, a film like Hereditary might be a bit problematic to talk about without actually spoiling anything, but I'm going to do my darndest, okay? But just so you know that should I spoil anything, I'm going to be putting that thing up, okay? Just so you know. So Hereditary, the synopsis is: after a family matriarch passes away, a grieving family is haunted by tragic and disturbing occurrences and begin to unravel dark secrets. That's the official synopsis. It's, you know, it doesn't really tell you much. If you've seen the trailer, and I hope you have, you will know that it's a horror movie and that it stars Toni Collette and Gabriel Byrne. And I'm not sure if Anne Dowd was in the trailer. I think she was. She's in it. She's awesome. So just because of Toni Collette, that would be enough for me to go and see this, which is one of the main reasons why I went to see this, because I'm not really that much of a horror movie fan. It's a bit of a weird one. I mean, if you've seen my vlog in the last few weeks, obviously one of the greatest releases this entire year has come out, which was also a horror movie called A Quiet Place by John Krasinski, starring his real-life wife, Emily Blunt. And that was a fantastic horror movie. I really, really enjoyed that. And I also went to the cinema to watch it, because a lot of hoopla was made around it. And I love Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt is also on the list of people that I will go and watch, no matter what project they're in. I just need to know the title and that she's in it, and I will go and watch it. And that happened to be A Quiet Place. And even though it is a horror movie, and I usually have an aversion to horror movies, especially in the cinema, because trust me, this is not just for me. This is just for everyone who might be in the same cinema as me, because I freak out easily. Like, I scare easily. And a lot of horror movies nowadays, they have like these really cheap jump scares where it's like, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden, Wah! And then there's like some weird edit and everything just... The Ice Cream Man! In case you can't hear that, that was just the music. The creepy clown-ass music playing, so you never know. But overall, because I easily jump, I tend to not really go to the cinema to watch a horror movie, because I feel it's not really worth subjecting other people to me making the entire row of chairs go, oh my god. Yeah, because I freak easily. So... Yeah, not really a horror movie fan. But A Quiet Place was great. Once I've uploaded all the previous stuff, just have a look at the videos. One of them will say A Quiet Place, and I talk about that. And I think I didn't spoil anything there either. So you can just check that out. And yeah, I don't think it's in cinemas anymore, actually. So unfortunately, you've missed that. It was quite a few months ago. But I really enjoyed that. And so when I saw the trailer for Hereditary, which has been playing for a few weeks, I was like, that looks really interesting. And one of the main things was this little girl. What's her name? Millie Shapiro is the actress's name. And what's fascinating about her, what really had me enthralled in the film, was that she has a really disconcerting face. You know, when you think about like a young girl, she's supposed to be 13 in the movie. And judging from the trailer, I actually thought she was a lot younger than that. But then there's a shot in the film, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm a bit confused. Like, I thought that she was like 8 years old or something. And then there's a shot in the film, and you see that she already has breasts, and I'm like, she must be a teenager, but she looks so young. It's so weird. And then later on, somewhere in the film, I think they mention that she's supposed to be 13, and I was like, blimey, but she looks so young. And just the way that her face is made up of, like the way her eyes are positioned, and the shape of her lips and mouth and cheekbones and just everything. And then she looks at the camera in a certain, well, obviously she doesn't look directly at the camera, but you know what I mean. She has this really, I don't know how else to say it, like a really disconcerting look, where I was like, you're making me really uneasy, and you're a little girl. Why should I be afraid of you? And that's already been happening in the trailer, and I think they were marketing it like that really, really well. And I was like, clearly something's up with this girl. So the trailer is really, really well done. But I have to tell you straight away, it kind of encompasses something that Deadpool 2 was using as well, where the trailer was kind of insinuating one thing, and then the film was actually showing you something entirely different. And I love that in Deadpool, because I expected certain things or didn't expect other things. And that's why the film really surprised me. And I like it when a film surprises me, because a lot of films just go by the same formula, and they're really, because of that, a bit predictable and almost boring. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it has all to do in Deadpool, to do with X-Force. And that was fantastic. I thought marketing-wise, that was a really, really cool idea, and I really loved it. I've seen Deadpool 3 times now, and I really love this film. Even though it's not perfect or whatever. And I'm not a fan of the first one. But I really dig Deadpool 2. So if you've not seen that, it's still in cinemas. Check that out. It's really awesome. You don't need to be a fan of the first one, because trust me, I was as far away from being a fan of the first Deadpool as you possibly can. I really did not like it. And I love the second one. It's great. But they're doing the same thing here in Hereditary, where the trailer was kind of insinuating one thing, and then the film actually produces something else. I'm a huge fan of that, because I hate it when trailers show you all kinds of shit and there's no surprises left. Like, sometimes trailers spoil important plot points of the third act or something, and I'm like, you've just given away the entire movie in a 2.5 minute trailer. What were you thinking? It's like, do you not want people to go and see this? What's wrong with you? Just a quick one. A guy called Ari Aster is actually the director for Hereditary, and apparently this is his feature directorial debut. Hats off to you, Ari. Really good work. Love it. I'll talk more about the ending of it without spoiling it. There's the film goes a certain direction, and then towards the end, I don't even know if it's a 180, a 270, or whatever it is, but it like totally goes a bit bonkers. It's almost like two films were mushed together, and it kind of makes sense, but it also doesn't really make sense. And I was like, I really wish you had just not included that particular thing, because it wasn't really necessary from my point of view. But other than that, I was a huge fan of Hereditary. There's a lot of, like I said from the trailer, it tells you basically, it goes in a certain direction, and then you watch the movie and you're waiting for this, and then nothing happens, and then something else happens, and this is so fucking amazing. And literally everyone in the cinema went, oh my god. What the... Huh? That's literally everyone's reaction. And I think that happens about... Not that I check my watch because I'm not one of those fuckers, but I think it's about maybe half an hour into the film, something like that. It was totally unexpected. You expect something else to happen, and then this thing comes out of thin air and just literally everything just explodes in your fucking face. That's kind of what it is. It is so awesome. But on the other hand, all these unexpected twists and turns, they are unexpected because you think you know what you're getting, because you think this is a horror movie, and horror movies all follow like a certain a checklist and a system, and they're all the same. Not Hereditary. To an extent, but also to an extent it then goes and flips everything on top of its head, which I thought was really cool. And I really liked that because I was like, wow, I didn't see this happening. And I was like, certain bits, like the film is really good when it comes to details. Aster really works with a lot of details, and the whole narrative structure, you can just tell that everything is meticulously planned out. That's going to happen in the film. Stuff that's mentioned in the film, mentioned by other characters, even stuff that you see hanging on the walls, or just a weird, seemingly weird cut to something that you go, why am I looking at this? This has nothing to do with the movie. Why are you showing me this? What the heck were you thinking? 10 minutes later, you're like, oh my god. Wow. Foreshadowing plays a huge part in this film in a really great way. I really, really loved it. Let's just say, it's like, you know, this old rule of you have to introduce the gun in the first act in order to be able to use it in the third act. And he uses this methodology all the time, and it's really, really good. So after I was watching the film, and the ending, like seriously, the ending is a bit bonkers, and you need to bring someone with you to the cinema, which I unfortunately didn't, because you will need to talk to someone about this. Because it is a bit... I found the ending a bit convoluted and tacked on, and it went into a bit of like iffy territory. Like it went really... I don't want to say slapsticky, but there were certain bits in there that made some people behind me laugh, and it was not supposed to be a laugh out loud moment, laugh out loud funny moment. Which is where he goes more into the cliches near the very, very end, which I thought was a bit not necessary, you know, could have easily been avoided. But overall, I really enjoyed the film. It works more, I think, as like a thriller than it does as an actual horror movie. I think because it's marketed as a horror movie, people were expecting there to be a lot more horror in there, and were potentially a bit disappointed by it because that's not what you're getting. But I personally like it because I'm not much of a fan of horror movies. I like thrillers that just keep you, you know, suspense, edge of your seat kind of a thing. And it was really well done. And I love the cinematography as well. So first of all, you have great performances in the film all around, but especially Toni Collette and actually Alex Wolff. Alex Wolff plays the son, and what was it, Millie Shapiro? Millie Shapiro, she plays the little girl, and Gabriel Byrne plays the dad, and then Toni Collette plays the mother. The entire family, all these performances are so well done. They creep me out, and sometimes even when you think it's like, oh god, that person is like so and so and is so annoying and such a whiner and such a whatever, but everything makes sense once you've seen the entire film and you see the big picture and how everything comes together. It'll blow your mind, like seriously. Don't think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I wouldn't go that far, but overall I was really pleasantly surprised. Even though when the ending was happening, I was like, what the heck is going on? What, like, I couldn't understand the ending. I needed like half an hour as I was walking home from the cinema. It takes me about like 25 minutes to walk home. And I was like processing and thinking about it. And the problem is that I couldn't have anyone to talk to about it, which was a bit annoying. But overall, I was like, I think this is now making sense. But when the film was done and the directed by and the credits started rolling, I was like, I don't get it. What was that? Just why? What? Huh? And then people behind me got up and were like, this didn't make sense. Why did he do this? Why did he do that? They clearly didn't like the film. And I was just like, I think I like it. Like, especially the first half, I really like it. It's like you can just tell that all the stepping stones were laid out in order to get us to the grand finale. And so meticulously planned that it was almost, I think that might be its undoing a bit, because it is too meticulously planned. So meticulously planned, in fact, that after a while you're like, this is so perfect. That's just so unrealistic. And obviously, you can't really have an unrealistic horror movie. I mean, not for me. I need to have everything based in some kind of realism. Even a fantasy film, it has its own rules and universe and all of that stuff that is governed by those rules. And you have to adhere to those rules. You establish the rules and you have to adhere to these rules. But the film almost feels like it's establishing no rules. Then it brings up a bunch of rules. And then brings up a bunch of more rules. And then you go like, that's a bit too convenient. You know, it's like when something just seemingly is too perfect, I immediately go, that just can't really be right. And that's kind of what the film is like. Not in a detrimental way. I still think it's one of the best horror movies that I've seen in a long time. And A Quiet Place is like that as well. It was very innovative. It's not the kind of horror movie that you usually see nowadays. When we think of horror movies, you think of like a slasher or something. You think of Saw or some other, or Halloween or some other shite, right? Not saying that I don't like these movies. I love these movies. When I can watch them at home, where I can go like, pause, I need a breather. But overall, that's kind of what the horror genre has come to. Like, everything is about guts and gore and slash and blah. And this is not that film, even though there is some, when you have a little girl finding a dead bird and she ends up snipping the dead bird head off with a pair of scissors and puts the head into her cardigan, you go like, what? And that's the kind of film that is. But I really like how clever it is. Like I mentioned, the foreshadowing is fantastic. The cinematography in this is great. There's a lot of stuff that happens and you're like, that's a bit, out of left field. And then something else comes up later, like 20, 30, 50 minutes later, and you're like, wait a minute. This is kind of like mirroring what happened at the start of the movie. And a lot of other stuff happens as well, where it kind of like goes into that vein. And that's why I think this film, I usually don't really rewatch horror movies, but this one I feel like I have to, because there is so much clever details and like I said, the meticulous planning and the foreshadowing and all of that stuff that you're not aware of, because obviously you don't know exactly where the movie's going, especially from the trailer. You think it's going in a certain direction, and trust me, does not go that way at all. And then once you know where you're kind of going and what the film is aiming at, with that knowledge in mind, rewatching everything, like especially the first hour, I think would be fantastic. I think I'm actually going to have to go and see it again. Also, in case that means anything to you, this film has been distributed by A24, which is a really, I think, famous production company run, amongst others, by Megan Ellison. She's won a lot of Oscars for stuff that she's been producing. And they're kind of known for giving us provocative and weird and different and brilliant and all kinds of like outlandish stuff. They really, I don't really want to say Weinstein, it's kind of like they give us the stuff that the Weinstein Company used to give to us like 20 years ago. You know, they found the little gems that ended up being mega successful, either at the box office or, more importantly, like critically acclaimed or winning awards or all of that stuff. So A24 for me is kind of like a stamp of approval that you have. And when that came up, A24, I was like, oh, for God, it's an A24 movie, it's got to be good. And it is good. But you need to really sort out your expectations. It's not your generic horror movie that I think a lot of the people in the audience were expecting. So I really liked it, but it took me a lot of processing once I'd seen it, because for the first hour and a half, you kind of go like, oh yeah, this is the kind of movie that we're watching, which comes as a bit of a surprise considering the trailer. But I was like, yeah, I'm totally on board with this, and it's kind of like about mental health and mental disabilities and, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. And then it deteriorates into the supernatural as well. And it felt a bit tacked on. Like, that was a part of the horror genre that I didn't necessarily need in this movie. And I thought it was a bit unexpected. It's the kind of thing that, judging from the trailer, you kind of expected there to be. Then something happens, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it literally means, like, forget about the trailer. Even though the trailer's really good. But it's like, what's going on now? How are we going to go, like, what? But, huh? So, you're going to know what... I'm just saying lamppost, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's just one of the things that I really love is the meticulousness, the planning, the details. There's so much detail. It's like, in case you didn't know, Toni Collette plays Annie, and she is someone who builds miniature models, like to such a detailed detail that I thought that, given it's called Hereditary, and the trailer seems to make this whole thing about her and the daughter, and then same with like the miniature houses, and I was like, there's something definitely up with those miniatures, and they look so freaky and weird, because one of the things that Astor, the director, was doing with the cinematographer as well, is like, that's one of the things I love about the cinematography in this. There is this fluid transition, absolutely fluid, a transition of the camera filming a scene in one of those models, in one of those miniatures, which are depicting like real life scenarios. Basically, she's putting miniatures up of her family, of the house they're living in, and that is why it looks so lifelike, because she kind of fashioned everything after things that she actually knows, things that she actually sees, all of those things, right? And then it really goes in a fluid motion from the camera goes into that model house, and we're seeing the figure of the son lying on the little miniature bed in his miniature room and all of that stuff. And then, without there being a transition, even though of course there is, there's a knock at the door, and then the door in the miniature room apparently opens, but we're actually in the real life scene with real life people, where the son is actually lying in bed and the dad is just coming into the room. And I have no idea how they did that, but it looks so seamless. It is crazy. And that is obviously also something that gives you some kind of an idea as to what the film is about. Like I said, I'm not really going to spoil anything, but it is just so well planned out, and it is so meta to a certain extent as well, without obviously doing like a Deadpool thing and breaking the fourth wall. We're not doing that, but it is so aware of what it's trying to tell you, and it is putting you as the audience into the position to fully understand and grasp what the scenario is, what these people are going through. And once you've seen the entire film, it's like all these puzzle pieces that you were like, they're jumbling around in your brain, and all of a sudden they fall into place. And it's just like, wait a minute, you gotta be kidding me. from the start of the film all the way to the end. And that really surprised me, and I was so into that. I really enjoyed that, because I'm not really used to a horror movie being that challenging to understand, that cerebral, that it's more than just a slasher where it's like safety, death, oh, we go towards death, all right, the slasher comes after us, and that's it, right? There's more to it than just that. And same with the performances as well. There's like some brilliant scenes in this film. There's a scene between mother and son, between mother and daughter, between Toni Collette and Dowd at the car. And it's a really powerful scene, but then once you've seen the film and you actually understand what the function of that scene was in the entire grand plan of things, it blows your mind. And it's like, holy crap. It is just, it's so layered. It's such a layered movie, and that's what makes it so much fun. And I think this is why you need to view it at least twice. Like, I need to go and see this again, preferably with a friend who you can talk to about afterwards, because the movie ending, like the actual ending, there's a lot of stuff that happens there in fast succession, where you like, and they're almost giving you like an exposition piece at the very end, where they're sort of trying to explain to you what you've just seen and what just happened, in case you couldn't put the pieces in the right order. And even though someone was telling you this, I was still like, I can't wrap my head around this. It's like, I'm not entirely sure what just happened. Like, I need to think about this. It's crazy. It's just so bizarre. And the film, I think, would have worked just as well if it had just been dealing with these issues of mental illness and death and family tragedy. Like, there's something that I will not spoil for you, because it's such a powerful, amazing moment. There's a family tragedy that happens, and it's just that the director really knows how to play with your expectations. Because, you know, it's like the little girl, for example, fairly early on, like the grandmother dies, and they're at the funeral, the wake or whatever it is, and the girl eats a piece of chocolate, and the dad goes like, does it have nuts in it? Does it have nuts in it? There's no nuts in it. And she's like, no, there's no nuts in this. And she keeps eating. It's like, oh, okay, so the girl's allergic to nuts. And then the mother comes in. It's like, is there nuts in that? We didn't bring the EpiPen. And the dad goes, don't worry, there are no nuts in there. It's like, okay, cool. So she's highly allergic against nuts. And they have an EpiPen for her. So if you've ever met someone who has a nut allergy, you know that if they ever get in contact with nuts, or if they ingest anything that's touched nuts, it doesn't have to be a nut itself, but it could be something that just brushed past a nut, almost like it looked at a nut weird, and then you eat it, they're gonna have an allergic reaction, which usually closes the throat so that they can't breathe anymore, and they basically suffocate. So this is kind of like explained just in these two sentences. It's like, are there nuts in there? No, it's fine. Are there nuts in there? We didn't bring the EpiPen. That's it. That's all we ever find out, that the little girl has a nut allergy. I think that's really well done, really well written. You don't need to have a big expository thing. We've got it, right? And then obviously, you know, you're introducing this in the first 5 minutes of the film, so this will play out again later. And it does. But it doesn't the way you think it's going to be. And that's where the film really wowed me. Like, within the first half hour, there's stuff happening where I was like, I did not see this coming. I was literally in the cinema. I was like, oh my... Whoa. Whoa. And the character was sitting there, and I was sitting there, and we were just like, I need a minute. It was that unexpected and powerful. And one of the things I really loved about it is that Aster, the director, gave the actors time to just sit in their shit, in their shock, in their drama. And it was beautiful and horrible in the same time to watch. Like, at first, like, this is regarding a character I'm not going to say, but you will know exactly what I'm talking about once you've seen the movie. This is regarding a character where I was like, why is that such a whiner, so annoying and so uninteresting? And I was like, oh god, he's so fucking annoying, I really can't stand him. And then he had this scene. Oh, I already said he. You don't know what I mean. And then there was this scene and I was like, wow. Fucking hell. It was great. And that's only one of several. There's quite a lot of really... Oh my god, it's almost 9. Wrapping it up. So, great cinematography, great performances. It's all about death and guilt and not facing up to your guilt and not taking responsibility for the shit that you've done and not talking about your issues and all of that stuff. Family tragedy, family trauma, really good. Really loved it. Really, really loved it. And then at the very end, all of a sudden, the fucking supernatural thing comes in. And I was like, Esther, I know why you did it, but we really didn't need it. It would have been just as interesting without the supernatural shit. And I think this is probably where you lost a lot of the audience as well. Because by then we're like, okay, this is the kind of film we're watching. And then all of a sudden it's like, BAM! No, it's not. This is the kind of film you're watching. And everyone was like, what the heck is going on? It's still entertaining and it's more horror-y, if that's a word. It now is. TM me. But overall, I was like, mate, you didn't need it. The film would have been, I think, even more powerful if you had just forgotten about this. So it's just really cool. It's like, in regards to the details, I'm going to be running over. I usually do it from 8 to 9, but there we go. Foreshadowing. I'm just going to quickly say, it's like foreshadowing. You see a pole and you go, why am I seeing this pole? Doesn't matter. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. Detailed storytelling. You need to watch it a second time. Like, it's just talking about the nut allergy, okay? Nut allergy. She likes chocolates. In the background, you see someone cutting nuts with a knife. And then someone is using a knife, presumably the same one, to cut a chocolate cake. And someone likes chocolate cake who shouldn't like things with nuts. And we all know how shit happens, right? Not a spoiler, trust me. So it feels like it's 2 films in one, right? So it was just... There's a lot of really interesting stuff. There's a lot of interesting character dynamics, especially dramatic and horrible ones. People don't like each other. There's a lot of secrets coming out. You need to pay meticulous attention to everything the film shows you, the film tells you, characters in the film tell you. It can be a throwaway line from like a day player character. It can be fucking important for the rest of the plot. After I watched it all, I was like, I need to watch this again because there's so much stuff that's been set up in seemingly unimportant scenes. But then I remembered, it's like every scene and every piece of dialogue is in this film for a reason. And sometimes I keep forgetting that because sometimes you watch a scene and it's like, oh, I would have cut that. Pfft, bullshit. But in this one, they all make sense. They all have valid reasons to be there. It's really, really good. There are no accidents. There are no coincidences. This is a really great film, but do bring at least one friend who you can talk to after, because the ending will have your head spinning for at least half an hour to an hour, maybe longer. It's really awesome. Really loved it. It might also be helpful if you Google Hereditary ending explained, because a lot of people are picking up on things that you might not have picked up on. Most of it you can pick up on, but one or two things I found quite interesting to read up on, which was good. I'm not going into the spoilers. I might mention it in a few weeks after people have seen it. Quickly, if you're not going to see Hereditary, there's still some other good stuff out in cinemas. Mostly Deadpool 2, and then Solo, and Jurassic World, even though that's not as good as the first one. But definitely Deadpool 2. Book Club's also still running, even though I'm not a fan of that film. Ocean's 8 comes out next week, so that is going to be my big review next Thursday. ILoveCinema will be back on Twitch. I assume everything worked really well here. I seem to be quite happy with this. I might have to do something with the latency if I actually want to talk to people. Not that anyone's actually watched live, other than my mate Mooks. Thanks, Mooks. You rock. But yeah, looks like our new home is going to be here on Twitch. Check back for previous episodes once I've uploaded them. Follow me on Twitter at ILoveCinema vlog, all one word. I will be tweeting from that account if new videos are going up. Check back next Thursday, 8 p.m. on the dot. I'm going to be talking more about movies, and I will most definitely going to be talking about Ocean's 8, because how could I not? That's going to be the most wicked birthday present I've ever gotten, I think. That movie's going to be awesome. So have fun at the cinema. Have a great weekend. I love you all. Bye for now.